For the second time on day 3, a wicket calls time on the session. But while India would have been particularly happy going into lunch, it has been England's day, courtesy of a final session that sees them sit at 260 for 8 in their second innings. The decisive number 233, the lead. At tea time, both Ajit Agarkar and Nick Compton on ESPN Cricket for Matchday said that would be a number that they'd be reasonably happy with if they were England. Therefore, you'd rather be in the England dressing room overnight, Ajit?
Yeah, again that wicket sort of, England would have been not celebrating, but would have been happier with Rashid still there to come next morning. But I think 233 they would have taken it the way this day started, and those 2 wickets when they lost Jennings and Bairstow either side of lunch, they would have taken it. A few tactical errors from India's point of view in that last session, but England showed a lot of fight throughout the day. And are rightly in a I don't know whether 233 is enough, but it's a really good score to have on the board with 2 wickets left.
It's again the sort of resolve from the middle and lower order of England, Nick Compton, that we would have liked to see maybe from the top order, but the likes of Stokes, Butler and Sam Curran, who my God continues to get better with every innings.
Yeah, it's almost been the summer of Butler and Curran. We've had a lot of talk about the top order and various other question marks, but haven't Butler and Curran been good appointments in this series in particular? And they look like fine Test cricketers. They really have, grown in stature, grown with maturity with every game. So I think that's been an excellent plus for England. I thought Stokes played well. I think we know him as such a swashbuckling sort of player, but the way he came in, I think if England had lost another couple of quick wickets when he was batting, I think England would have really been under pressure. I think the fact that he's been able to adapt his game, okay, it's not what we want to watch, it's not what the fans necessarily want to see from him, but from a game perspective, his techniques look solid and he's really worn the bowlers down, and I think it's been a very vital aspect of today's game.
Okay, let's talk about those tactical errors in that final session, because that last session did in some ways shape the game, or at least which way the game is heading. Kohli using his bowlers, what did you make of it?
Yeah, I mean 100 plus runs got scored. I thought Shami was the best bowler for India today, and just bowls the least amount of overs out of your top 4 bowlers. He's bowled less than Ishant, Ashwin or Bumrah. That's a bit strange. From over 56, I think we saw till
to 87. A period of 31 overs where he did not
doesn't
bowl.
get a bowl. I think it's similar to what Joe Root did yesterday a little bit. Let game drift a little bit. Again, today Ashwin just kept bowling from one end. I can understand they wanted a lot more of Ashwin. He had a tough day today. You would have expected him to, at least impact the game with a few more wickets. Wasn't at his best on the day. So it wasn't necessary to keep bowling him from one end. And then Hardik Pandya, just to get India to the new ball, comes and bowls 9 overs for almost 4 runs and over, 3.7 runs and over, which without getting a wicket is letting the game just go along. When you know this is your second innings, you don't need to conserve your bowlers for another innings. And then you take the new ball and hand it over to Ashwin first up, which other times it's understandable, but you've got to pick your best bowlers on the day. And for me, it was Bumrah, Ishant or Shami definitely from one end. Doesn't get a bowl till the 87th over. So those sorts of opportunities, when if India go down and chase this whatever scores set for them, you might not look at them that seriously, but otherwise, those things have made a definite impact on today's game. At how easy it was at times for England. Look, the wicket's pretty slow, so it's much harder. But how easy, when your best bowlers are not bowling, it makes it a lot easier for the opposition batsmen.
Okay, so tactical errors pointed out by Ajit. Nick, your assessment of it, it does seem like the kind of test match where 40-50 runs, if you just let go, switch off, it could come down to the difference in the final innings. There was a stage where even after the 80th over, like Ajit said, first they went on for 2 overs and then took the new ball with Ashwin, who bowled 35 overs for just 1 wicket. It's fair to say that Moeen Ali's out-bowled Ashwin in this test.
Yeah, he probably has, but let's be careful before we start saying too much. Ashwin is a class bowler in his own right. He's got a fantastic record. Okay, he hasn't bowled as consistently as we know he can. His paces were up and down a little bit. He seemed to not really be able to bowl that slower pace that really turned and bounced at times. He couldn't seem to repeat that time and time again. So it was disappointing from India's point of view. I also find some of Kohli's captaincy quite hard to read. I mean, you look at a guy like Pandya, for example. Okay, he went for a few runs in the first innings, but he won a test match for India in the last test and didn't come on until after tea. I mean, in terms of confidence for a young all-rounder, he must be asking himself questions standing at deep square leg or wherever he was fielding and wondering why is he not getting a bowl. He's the type of guy that can make things happen. So I thought that was quite strange. And yeah, I think disappointing from Ashwin. But Shami, what a trier he is. I thought he was absolutely brilliant. He could have had Jos Buttler with a number of deliveries when Jos first came in. But didn't manage to get the edge. But he keeps going, and he's a fine bowler, an underrated bowler almost.
Let's stick to the Ashwin conversation. If you were R. Ashwin with all the experience and reputation you come in with, and the way you started this series, and you bowled 35 overs on this pitch, would you have expected more?
Yeah, look, I mean, everyone can have a difficult day. You know, sometimes you want to execute certain skills, and it just doesn't, work out on certain days. But you felt like there were too many variations tried at most of his spell. There was always a quicker ball followed by slower ball, which actually made batsmen work a bit harder to defend or to drive. And then always a ball that was immediate. Next ball always pushed through a lot quicker. Maybe you in trying to hit those rough marks, he didn't need to vary his pace so much. I don't think the English batsmen were as comfortable when it was bowled a little bit slower. I thought he just tried too much today. Maybe again, having picked up wickets usually quite early in his spell, when you don't get that a little bit of it doesn't matter how good you've been in the past, that desperation comes into play. There was some leg spin bowl trying to bowl in the rough for left-handers. Yeah, every now and then you can try it, but there was a bit too much of that today, and maybe that cost him a bit of rhythm as well. You don't even the wicket that he got was against the run of play, which was quite a full ball, which Stoke, one of those things where Stokes has sort of guided it to slip. So yeah, it is a disappointing day, because India would be expecting a lot more, and that's why he's bowled 35 overs for Virat Kohli. They'd be expecting a lot more from him.
I mean, I'm trying to understand why it was this hard for the message to get through to him, because we spoke of it at tea time. George Dobell spoke of it. The Sky commentary box, has spoken of it. The likes of Nasser Hussain and Ian both him reading everything, saying, okay, he's bowled one. You see one which is tossed up into the rough, and it's made the batsman, trouble. And the very next ball, he's fired one in. It's happened time and time and time again. You don't see Virat Kohli going up to him having a word. He's probably so smart, Ashwin, that he should figure it out himself. So why hasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he's a 300 test wicket bowler.
Sometimes does that work to your detriment?
But again, there's a captain and a coach there for that same reason. Or there must be other guys in the team who usually get in this conversation. I mean, there was a definite case to be more patient with those sorts of balls, where you are just trying to. I know it's not easy to hit those rough spot 6 balls in an over.
Yeah.
But at least a couple of balls, and you put enough doubts in the batsman. But at least the idea's got to be that. I think there were too many variations used today, unnecessary at times.
And it's like they did have a break in the middle. You thought at tea time maybe the analysts or coaches or whoever else would come together and tell Ashwin, Nick, that stick to something basic. Have a look at how Moeen got his wickets. Was it just a bowler doing what because he has the variations, or trying too hard, or are we reading too much into it? We should just let it be.
Yeah, look, Ashwin's not a robot. He's a fantastic bowler, but I also think maybe the injury in the last Test match, is he as fit as he can be? Only he knows that. What I found interesting, though, is, yes, we've spoken about him bowling slower. I think that's something we should really propose even more, because you want to try and get batsmen to come out the crease. You want to get batsmen using their feet. I mean, batsmen didn't have to. They didn't even look like using their feet to him. They could just sit there and defend him, play him off the back foot. And, Ashwin's someone who would know that, to get wickets, particularly in conditions where the ball is bouncing and turning, you want to try and throw the odd one up, get the batsman, even if they hit you over the top for a 4 or a 6, quality bowlers, spin bowlers quite like that, and I sort of felt that was strange. But we don't know what's going on. We don't know what conversations happened. I guess he was trying his best. Was his action slightly different given his hip injury? Is his hip fully mended? I suppose there are some questions there, but disappointing for India, particularly on the day where they needed their talisman, their experienced bowler, to really get them into this game.
Right. Let's take nothing away. Point of
Yeah, I
view?
mean that's the other thing. You don't know whether he's 100% fit.
Yes.
You would assume that they've picked him, so he is 100% fit. But clearly, he's not looked the same bowler that he looked in that first test.
Right, let's take nothing away from Jos Buttler, who is now England's leading run getter this series, 260 runs, and Sam Curran is actually pretty close to him. We might add to that, and given Curran's played a few innings less, some achievement, but it's been a series more dominated by the bowling. Let's have a longer chat on Jos Buttler, shall we, Nick? Again, one of those left field selections that raised eyebrows straight from the IPL into red ball cricket. He just got a few runs against Pakistan, but every time Buttler either fails or succeeds, I think we'll have to decide whether this was a good call or not. The kind of innings he played today, and given the context of the test and the series, that's a real quality test innings.
Yeah, absolutely. I think when Ed Smith took over the selection, chairman of selectors, we knew that he was going to have some left field ideas, and I think that was one of them. Potentially if it had gone wrong, he would have copped it, but he's had a good selection so far, and there's no doubt that Jos Buttler has probably been the find of the summer in terms of how he's adapted his game over the years. Of course, we know how good he is in the shorter form of the game, but it's interesting because some people spoke about coming from IPL and one-day cricket into Test cricket, and how that may be difficult. But he is playing a lot of international cricket. He has learned so much in the IPL in terms of talking to other players, not just about the shorter format, about the longer format, about how to adapt his game. And I think that's really helped him a lot to come into this form, having played against the best in the world, having played in front of big crowds in India, whereas a lot of other players are playing four-day county cricket and then being expected to make the jump to Test cricket, and some have struggled. So I think it's been a great selection. I think the way he's adapted his game, simplified his technique, looks so much better than it did from sort of 3 years ago, where he really struggled in that form of the game. I think he looks a much more complete player who seems to find the balance of attack and defence with real ease at the moment.
Right, we've got numbers for Jos Buttler, because this series could very well go down to a cross-breaking series for him in his Test cricket. We're looking at his Test record 2014 to 16, which is a time where he was tried and almost keeping an eye away from his domestic form, an average of 31 in 18 matches, and now since he's returned 6 matches, 46 at an average in a series that's been hard for the batsman, but excellent 100 in a losing cause, of course, for England last Test, and he's carried that form into this one. On this pitch, where it was harder for the seamers on day 3, we thought Ashwin might be the man to trouble Buttler like he has in the past. There has been an improvement.
He did when he pitched the ball in the right areas.
Once every 18 balls. Yeah. But Buttler has learned to play spin even a little bit, because that was something even in the IPL we criticized.
Yeah, I'm sure Ben Stokes being at the other end and the way he approached his innings sort of helped Buttler as well. I think he played and missed early on in the innings against the seamers, but didn't go searching for runs after that. Just played within himself. Incredible. Again, like Nick says, adapting to the situation and then adjusting. Look, the shot making just comes naturally to him. So the runs are never going to stop once he's at the crease. It's about staying there and putting a prize on your wicket, which he did in the second innings. And again, a bit unfortunate when he did get out. I mean, it was a good ball from Ishant, but at that stage, it didn't look like a bowler was going to get him out. But really good innings. I think might turn out to be a match-winning innings.
Well, in that case, 233 looks very good at the end of day 3. Nick Compton, quickly as we sign off for the day, is this game already beyond India, or would you not make that call just yet?
Look, I think England are in a commanding position, there's no doubt. I would say that the wicket has slowed down slightly. I think things aren't happening as quickly as they were perhaps in the first day or two. That might stand in India's stead, if a couple of players can get in, the likes of Kohli, if he gets going, very dangerous. I think that a lot of eyes are going to be on the 2 spinners, the 2 English spinners. It's all very well Mo getting 5 wickets in the first innings, but now the pressure's on. This is when you want your spinner to deliver and get a 5 or a 5 for or a 6 for in the last innings to win your team a Test match. And so there's going to be an extra different dynamic. Can the spinners come good? Can the seamers and the experienced players? We've seen Cook, Root probably struggle this series over the last 6 innings or so.
Right.
Can Anderson and can Broad get those wickets?
Thanks a lot, Nick, for your thoughts. Let's have this conversation again in about 14 hours' time. Join us for our pre-show then on day 4. Until then, from all of us, it's goodbye.